それでは時間となりましたので、セミナーを開始いたします。本日座長を務めますのは、九州大学アジア・オセアニア研究教育機構創発推進コーディネーターのキム・シューマッハ准教授です。シューマッハ先生、よろしくお願いいたします。
Thank you very much. So, welcome everyone to today's 136th edition of the Curious Brownback Seminar. And it is with it's with great pleasure that today I'm welcoming Professor Hooman Farzaneh, and he will be presenting the co-benefits of low emission development strategies in Asian cities, a win-win solution. So a little bit of a background about Professor Farzaneh. So Professor Farzaneh specializes in modeling and analyzing energy systems with a focus on developing low emission strategies to facilitate solutions for long-term energy-related problems at local and regional scales. Prior to joining Kyushu University, Hooman worked at the Institute of Advanced Energy at Kyoto University and the United Nations University. Professor Farzaneh has over a decade of experience teaching energy science at universities in Iran and Japan. He has been the recipient of numerous prestigious research awards, including the Kyushu Natural Energy Promotion from the Kyushu Natural Energy Promotion Organization, the Hitachi Global Foundation, and the Asia Pacific Network, together with a scientific research grant from the Japan Society for the Promotion of Science for his research on multiple benefits assessment of the low emission development strategy in Asian cities. So with that, and he has also multiple books and publications that I will not go through in the interest of time, but after his presentation, there will be a Q&A, as has already been mentioned. And please do, at the end, write your questions to Professor Farzaneh in the chat. You can do so in English or in Japanese. If they're in English, I will read them out. And if they're in Japanese, they will be translated and then also provided to Professor Farzaneh to respond. So with that, once again, it is my great pleasure to welcome Professor Farzaneh. And now we will be seeing his presentation on the co-benefits of low emission development strategies in Asian cities, a win-win solution. Professor Farzaneh.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this Brownback seminar. And thank you very much, Professor Schumacher, for the introduction. I really appreciate it. And I would like to express my sincere thanks to the organizing committee of this Brownback seminar for inviting me. It's a great honor and pleasure to be with you today. I would like to request to share my slides. In case you can, may I ask that the slide is clear and then you can see my slides, right?
They're perfect, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. As you know, the title of my presentation is Co-Benefits of Low Emission Development Strategies in Asian Cities, a Win-Win Solution. But to make sure that we are on the same page about the co-benefits, because I believe that some of the participants in this workshop may have no idea about the co-benefits, or maybe this is the first time that they hear about this term. So I will start from the base, the definition and the application of course, our projects on co-benefits. But before starting, please allow me to briefly introduce our laboratory, which is the main place of this research. We are based at the Chikushi campus of Kyushu University, and we belong to the Interdisciplinary Graduate School of Engineering Sciences, ICSS, and then which has actually 6 divisions, and we are under the Mechanical and Systems Engineering Division, which has the Department of Energy and Environmental Engineering. And I'm serving as the principal investigator and head of the Energy and Environmental Systems that I established in 2018 when I joined Kyushu University. So this is a brief introduction about our research activity in this laboratory. So it's clear from the title that we're working on energy, both energy system and environmental system. On the energy system, the main research focus is given to the both demand and supply side. On demand side, we're working on demand response and demand side management for the electric power sector and eco-driving for the transport sector. And on the supply side, we're focusing on microgrid and hybrid renewable energy, the resource management and power control, right? And the linkage between these two sides are being studied by developing models on smart, localized, and wholesale electricity market. This is the first part. The second part is about the impact assessment of the energy system on the surrounding area, like the environment, the local economy, and also the society, which is about impact assessment. And the co-benefit project is part of this research. I just want to clarify that the situation of or the status of this research. And then our research is basically an interdisciplinary research. We try to integrate social and engineering science using the computational-based science, applied mathematics, control, and also impact assessment. So this is a general idea about our research activities. So let me get back to the main subject and the main purpose of this presentation, which is co-benefit. So let me introduce what are co-benefits, or what is the definition of co-benefits in very, very simple way, right? So imagine that you are living close to your office, right? In a sense that you can either drive or use your bicycle, right? But you are a very nice guy and you care about the environment, so you have already a good idea about the environmental protection. So you know about, for example, the Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Agreement. So anyway, you are aware about these things. So you prefer to use bicycle because basically you want to reduce carbon dioxide, right? So to protect climate change. So when you do it, when you use bicycle, the main target is to actually to reduce the carbon dioxide emission, not only at the end user level when you have a car and you don't use car, but also at the supply side, because there were some oil refineries there which have already used, for example, electricity and fuel. And when you replace your car with the bicycle, actually you try to help the company that doesn't use too much electricity. So this is the main target. This is the global action, right? But I can show you several benefits, which are, some of them are really private or personal benefits. It's not like related to the global the target that you follow, right? So let's start with health, right? Okay, so when you replace one drop of fuel, it's not all about carbon dioxide. So actually you reduce the different air pollutants, like for example, nitrogen oxide, sulfur oxide, or particulate matters like PM2.5, PM210, which are very harmful for your body, especially for your respiratory system. And it causes a lot of diseases like lung cancer or asthma, right? So one of the benefit is from the carbon dioxide reduction is improving the local air quality, right? So which is very good for your health. The second one is so let's say physical activity, because you use your bicycle, it's very good for your health, for your fitness. You can reduce your weight. It's very good for to avoid obesity, pressure blood, blah blah blah. So it's very good for physical activity. It's good for your health, for your shape, right? So this is another benefit. And it's also good for your mental health, because you assume that the rush time during the early morning and too many cars, but you use your car, you can go through the shortcut and relax. And then when you arrive at your destination, you are very good, right? In terms of health, right? So these are the co-benefits of health. But the second one is money. So you don't pay for the fuel, right? You don't buy gasoline. You don't pay for the ticket. You don't buy ticket for the bus or for example, the train. So you can keep this money in your pocket and buy very delicious hamburger from McDonald's for your lunch, or even you can buy a book to learn more about environmental science, right? So that's the second benefit. And the third one is time. You cannot put any value on time. Time is very important, right? So you assume that, again, rush time, too many cars, very dense traffic, but you have your bicycle, you can use through the shortcut, you can arrive at your destination earlier. If you are a surgeon, if you're a doctor, if you're a teacher, you can use your time. So you can see you can get more than one outcome with a single policy. The single policy was the environmental protection, the climate change, or you can get many, many benefits. This is the definition of co-benefits. Okay. Now I want to apply this to our research, right? So our research is about the clean energy development. So basically, the main target is to actually mitigate climate change, right? This is the global goal. But as I mentioned, you can get some environmental goals, like improving the air pollution and even other local benefits goals, like increasing new jobs, or for example, increasing the cumulative income in the city, because you can, for example, transfer technology, you can gain money, right? So the most important thing about the co-benefit is that this approach can make a good linkage between your project and the other SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, which were defined by the United Nations, if you are aware about these 17 goals. In my research, for example, if you consider this intersection between the global and local benefit, which is very important, we are basically focusing on this area because we are really interested to recognize these benefits and also quantify these benefits. So you can see, so when you discuss the air quality, it deals with the good health, which is basically the goal number 3. Or when you discuss the employment or green job, it is the good economy, which is the goal number 8. And when you discuss, for example, energy efficiency is goal number 3, which is about the clean energy. So you can even add more, but in my research, I'm focusing on these 3 main SDGs. So this is the main benefit from the co-benefits project. The second one, if you look at this animation that I made myself about this, so it's very important. When you discuss about clean technology, the first important things about this project is money, right? Because basically they are very expensive, capital intensive, so you have to pay a lot, you have to invest a lot, and basically the payback period is very long. It takes more than 10 years, 15 years, for example, for solar energy, which is the most important one. And when you're living in a developing country or developing city, and that city's mayors or localities have many problems, many infrastructure problems with the sanitation, education. So climate change is not the first one, or maybe the last one. So when you go to talk to mayors, say that, no, we have no money and we have different priorities. But if you can quantify these co-benefits, right? So improvement in health and air quality, then if you monetize, it means that you change the value to monetary units, right? So then you can use this monetized value and you can inject it to the local circular economy in your city or in your society. And it helps you to reduce the payback period, or it helps you to recover your investment earlier. So this is the main point of the co-benefits. But the question is how to monetize. I will give you some example. For example, when you try to improve the quality of air, when we, for example, introduce renewable energy, then you don't use fossil fuel. So it means that you have less PM emission. So I told you PM is very bad for the respiratory system. So we know that every year there are many people die just because of the lung cancer, right? Which is basically caused by the this air pollutant, different air pollutants, right? So when you have when you introduce new technology, green technology, basically you improve the quality of air, then you reduce the rate of the mortality. And it's really important. If you're familiar with the microeconomics, you may hear about the VSL, or value of statistical life. It means that everyone has value. For example, in developing countries, it's about 500,000 and 600,000, the value of each person. Because when you keep the person, if the person is available in a society, he or she can help to develop the local economy, right? So when you miss this person, so basically you miss this money. So mortality cost is very important. On the other side, when you consider, for example, hospital admission. So when you have healthy people, they don't refer to the hospital, then it decreases the hospital admission cost, which is a big burden on the shoulder of the government, because you pay only 20%, 30% of the insurance, and 70%, 80% by the government. So if you monetize this, and then you can see that it can be very helpful for the for the development of the green energy policies or technology, and it will support the economic viability of the project. So this is the point of the co-benefits. That's why this is a win-win solution. Okay, what is behind the co-benefits? If you look at this actually picture, it shows the intersection between the global environmental, let's say climate change and air pollution. At the moment, maybe with the current technology is very narrow, but once you start to introduce new technology and diffusion of the technology, then this area becomes wider and wider, which is very good for us because we would like to have wider area to focus more on different co-benefits, and then we can get more economic benefits from this co-benefits. But the problem is that at the moment, we just focus on technical and economic aspects. We don't consider political and social aspects. The point is this, then when you discuss this with the local government, you need to encourage stakeholders and local government to be involved in this project, right? So one of the dimensions which is hidden or which is not seen is actually the political dimension, or let's say institutional dimension, which deals with the public policy or the social acceptance of the co-benefit project. This is also part of our research. That's why we try to organize different workshops in different cities and work with the stakeholders to train them and then to introduce co-benefits to them and then train them how to realize and how to recognize these co-benefits and how to quantify them, right? Okay, with this, we can understand if we want to discuss about co-benefits, you need to consider two dimensions. The first one is technical dimension, which deals with how much the quantification, I mean, how much air pollution, how many prevented number of deaths, right? How many new jobs? These are the quantity. The second one deals with how come, which is the institutional dimension. What kind of governance system, what kind of policy is needed to support the co-benefits project? So this institutional dimension acts as the multiplier to amplify the impacts of the co-benefits project, which is very important. When you discuss about total co-benefit assessment, we need to consider both technical and institutional dimension, which is really important. Okay, with this, our research can be classified in two branches. The first branch deals with the city-wise evaluation of co-benefits that I will explain. The second one is about the project base. For the city-wise, we started to establish a robust modeling since 2013 when I worked at the United Nations University and after that at Kyoto and Kyushu universities. So we try to make a platform like this, and which has, of course, the center part is the energy system, but because we discussed on cities, kind of the urban energy system, which has several sectors, detailed estimation of demand and supply. And the final output is the avoided emission from the implementation of the, for example, renewable energy or clean technology that you propose, right? Then we have the public health assessment. So this avoided emission should be actually turned to the avoided exposure using the special model, and then using concentration response function or model to quantify the impact in terms of the number of, for example, deaths or mortality rate or morbidity rates. And then finally, using the hospital admission or VSL, we try to monetize this benefit, right? The cost associated with the healthcare. And the second is the microeconomic model, which has input-output tables for each city, and through the developing social accounting metrics. Then by using this system, we can see the impact of the avoided emission on introducing new jobs, capital productivity, and income in the city. So then when you combine all of this, you can get a good idea about the integrated benefits which can be achieved from the implementation of the clean technology or clean policy. When you look at this, you can see actually you need huge amount of data. And then it's like very interdisciplinary study. So you need different disciplines, engineering, programming, economics. It's not something that one person can do. So you cannot expect me to do all of this myself in my office. For that, I established this regional collaborative network on co-benefits. And I have a chance to work with great scholars across the globe with different universities from Malaysia, China, Korea, India, even Brazil. And then we started this kind of research, this kind of platform to develop the model and then to actually to use this model to apply it in different case studies. And then, of course, to provide effective research for the society. Okay, this is one of the big projects that we already finished the multiple benefit assessment of the low emission development strategies in Asia Pacific cities, which is about the co-benefits, energy, environmental, health, and economic benefits. We started from 2016, receiving funds from the Japan Society for the Promotion of Science, JSPS, together with Asia Pacific Network, focusing on 6 major mega cities, actually, Shanghai, Delhi, Sydney, Seoul, Tokyo, and Kuala Lumpur. And then later on, we received another budget from Hitachi Global Foundation to expand this research and apply this research for the 10 major cities in Japan. And now we are working with the Institute for Global Environmental Strategy, Ministry of the Environment, Japan, and try to expand our research, right? Okay, this is the book that was published in 2018, and I edited this book. And this book, we together with colleagues, we actually explain the different scenarios in different cities and details. But now I'm just trying to show one of this scenario because time is so limited. Let me explain the case of Delhi, which has 2 scenarios: clean transport and zero electricity deficiency. So here, a very simple demonstration of these 2 policies. What we have on the table based on the recommendation of the local government for the transport sector, the promotion of fuel efficiency or battery-operated auto rickshaw or increasing ridership in the public transport, especially metro. And for the energy sector, the focus was given to rooftop solar PV or waste to electricity from the municipal waste or improving energy efficiency at the end user buildings and commercial sector. So the details is available in our book, but anyway, I'm trying to show you the result using the model. You can see about 0.5 million ton of carbon dioxide can be reduced by 2030 when you have the integrated policies. And it can bring co-benefits in terms of the air pollution for carbon monoxide, NOx, SO2 or PM2 and 2.5 or 210 actually. And then even you can monetize this, and you can also consider the green job, how the green job increases, or what's the impact on cumulative growth of GDP, gross domestic production. In summary, with this project, we can reduce 4.8 million tons of carbon dioxide, which is actually associated with the 22,000 deaths prevented. And then the quality of air can be improved by reducing 0.4 million tons of different air pollutants, and then the saving from the health is 35 million USD, right? Okay, now you may ask me, can we make a common prescription for all cities? If we apply this to the case of Delhi, and then we can use it for all cities or not? The answer is no, because the cities behave in different ways, right? So there are many factors and drivers in different cities. You cannot apply this outcome and result for the case of the Tokyo, for example. Then we're thinking about the comparative analysis of co-benefits in cities, and then we came up with the introduction of the Urban Sustainable Development Index, USDI, which is a composite indicator, and it has several areas. At least 4 areas are really important: city planning, local economy, social welfare, and energy climate. And you can see for each area, we have the different sub-indicators, right? For example, data on GHG, NOx for city planning, clean water, transportation, waste management for local economy, GDP, unemployment, and labor productivity. So we collected this data for 22 major cities in Asia over past 5 years. It's like a robust database, collecting this data from different localities. And then we developed a mathematical system to actually collect this data, make the indicator, and then combine this indicator in and normalize, aggregate this indicator. And finally, we came up with a weight-based indicator, so-called USDI. What's the point of this USDI? First, with this USDI, you can understand what's the situation of these cities at the moment in terms of the sustainable development. Second, when you introduce a new co-benefits, you can see how the new project can affect the USDI and how the USDI can be improved. Okay. So this is the result based on the data that we collected for the 22 cities in Asia. So you can see we can classify the city in to three categories. For the high category, you can see Tokyo, Singapore, Yokohama, Osaka, or Hong Kong, and Seoul. And then the average, you can see some cities in China, and then finally, you can see cities in India, right? So USDI is measured from 0 to 1. So you can see the closer number to 1 is the best situation. The first thing is the cities with higher incomes tend to perform better on USDI. This is very important because you have more money, then you can spend money for the clean technology. But it's not the only one. The policy execution is also important. So you may have money, but you don't know how to allocate or how to design your policy framework. So you can see for most of the cities, especially the high rank, they have good policy framework with money, right? For your information, if you are interested to work with this USDI, we already made a portal website on my laboratory. So this is the address. You can go there and you can make you can calculate USDI even for your city and compare with the other cities. So this web base is available. So what we can learn from this, I have only 3 minutes, so I need to finish at least this part. So when you look at the cities, for example, in case of Tokyo, when you compare Tokyo with the average 22 cities, you can see Tokyo perform very well in all of these sub-indicators, right? And it's very important, it has equal share, means that the policy, the framework is very strong and perfect policy system. So policy, different policy have been allocated to the area in common, the equal share. So it's very important. But when you look at the other cities like Seoul or the Kuala Lumpur, you cannot see this kind of uniform distribution. Well, you can also use this USDI to understand the bad or good impacts, right? Look at the case of the Kuala Lumpur. So you can see when the new city has been built, and then they started to develop the metro and the underground train system. It brought social welfare with climate change because when you use the metro, of course, you reduce the carbon dioxide. But the opposite way, when you look at the case of Shanghai, so you can see the city has been developed, the social welfare is good, but there are many factories or the industries close to the city, which has very bad impact on the air pollution. So this is very good to understand what is the current situation based on the sustainable development. So this is also very good to show the impact of the how the sensitivity of the USDI. For example, if you have 10% change in each of social welfare, local economy, or city planning, how the USDI changes. We expect very uniform change in, for example, the developed cities. But when you look at the case of Delhi, you can see social welfare is, USDI is very sensitive to social welfare. So the problem basically is health and education. But in some cities, USDI is very sensitive to climate change. So the air pollution is very important. So that's why I told you we cannot have a common prescription for all cities because we have different factors and different drivers. Okay, what happens for the case of Delhi? I introduced to you two types of the policies, right? The transport, clean transport, and also the efficiency. So when you use this tool and if we recalculate the indicators of the USDI and finally USDI, you can see that each indicator has been developed. In terms of the quantity, and then finally USDI has been improved the value because you create a new job, or for example, you protect the health or improving the city planning. So then you can see the ranking of the Delhi from 15. Delhi was located in low rank. Has been increased, and then now Delhi is in the average. So it's very important message from the co-benefit. The co-benefits project can help local government to improve the social welfare of the society. So if you look at from this angle, just the climate change or carbon dioxide or emission, you cannot address these things. But when you include different benefits like health, like green job, like local economy, then you have more impactful result because you integrate all of these factors. So this is the good actually representation how the indicator, the value of indicator changes with respect to the co-benefits. Okay, this is our efforts to make different workshops in different cities, working with the stakeholders, train them, and then so we started this for maybe 6 years or 7 years ago in different cities, and then we're still working with the stakeholders, because stakeholder engagement is really important. I just want to show you the last part because there is no time. So this is the recent activity. We are now working on this project, Advancing Climate Mitigation Policy Solution with Health Co-Benefit in G40 countries, which is funded by the UK Wellcome Trust. It's a big project, and I have a chance to work with the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, Asia Center of Air Pollution, Hokkaido University, and University of Texas, and also LSCE in Paris. So it's kind of the joint research workshop, a collaborative research workshop on research project on co-benefits. So I would like to share some of the reference. The first book is about the co-benefit definition. The second one is about energy system modeling, and that I try to explain the part of this, detailed modeling approach in this book. And the third one, which is recently published, is the application of the climate co-benefit project. And I hope you find these books useful and you can refer to them. Thank you very much for sharing your valuable time with me.
Thank you very much, Professor Farzaneh. Super interesting. Yeah, if there's any questions to Professor Farzaneh, please do write them in the chat. I do have a question to start things off. So with all of these indexes, or kind of where you look at cities from vastly differing development levels, like you mentioned Tokyo and Singapore at the very top, especially in terms of social welfare and community participation and just governance in general. How do you, because some other ones that the indexes, for example, the Yale Environment Index or so, they often have a problem in the sense that it's not a problem in the sense of method or anything, but the historical access to resources. So what do I mean by that? So often countries that are already very wealthy perform super well in these indexes because they already historically have access to resources, and therefore the curve where the time when they were extremely unsustainable, or for example due to industrialization or heavy use of resources, they already overcame that, and now they're in a time where the infrastructure is there, the governance structures are set up, and then you get countries like Denmark or so at the top, but it does not account for also for example the extreme energy intensity or the extreme unsustainability of the infrastructure to maintain that infrastructure as well, because still it does not necessarily pop up in the national statistics, because a lot of the negative impacts are outsourced, for example due to imports of resources or things like that. And that is my question: is an index like yours, can it account for those things? For example, Tokyo would be, in terms of energy and efficiency, it is extremely energy efficient, but as the whole of Japan is still extremely reliant on fossil fuels, for example, due to the AC, HVAC, or the things like that, that might not pop up in the statistics of Tokyo itself. But since it's extremely reliant on an extremely unsustainable underlying system, how can you account for that? And would that mean that some, how do I say it, developing cities in Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia, that they, how do I say, might not seem as efficient in the first look, but given the challenges that they have, they actually perform pretty well comparatively versus the very well-performing ones at first sight? So that is my question.
Yeah, thank you. Very, very interesting question. So let me explain about this indicator. When you look at because from the name it's clear that you call it urban sustainable development. So we need to define the boundary. So the boundary is the city boundary, right? So we're not discussing the national level. For example, as you mentioned, when you look at the Tokyo, we look at the Tokyo itself. We don't consider Tokyo as a part of Japan, which relies on, energy imports, right? So because Japan has no sources. And of course, Japan imports, for example, fossil fuel, which is one of the, main drivers for the climate action. But anyway, so this is actually very, very specific indicator, which is specified for the case of each city. So we consider city by city. And the second question is, of course, when we want to evaluate an indicator, we need to consider the historical trend. It's not like point by point. So we consider, for example, today, you see that some of the cities, if you look at their background, you can see they behave very bad, right? So, but recently they develop a lot of infrastructure, and then now they can be right. But when I showed you, if you remember the sensitivity analysis, when you see that radar chart, for example, in case of maybe the Shanghai city case is very good. So you can see Shanghai within 10 years or 20 years, the huge development. The city urban development is like very huge. But you can see the impact on climate is really bad because the main problem with this development is they're using a huge amount of energy, using not clean energy. Basically, they use coal, right? So from one hand, they try to develop the city, which brings social welfare. Of course, it brings very good social welfare. But from the other hand, it has very bad impact on the climate change. So the main idea of this USDI is at least to combine these four areas, city planning, climate change, not only climate change and energy, because when you look at these two, so of course, it's like the linear relationship. The more energy, the worse climate change. But when you look at the social welfare and city planning and combine it and you integrate this, then I think you can address better this kind of situation. Of course, we need to consider the historical, and we collected data for over 20 years for this city, and then we integrated this data. But again, I would like to emphasize that the border, we just consider city, and it's not kind of connected to NAMA or national, climate action. So it's like the city level.
Because why did I ask the question? First of all, thank you very much for your response, because that is very important context that you provide. But I asked the question because me and the finance department, what has been a lot of criticism has been targeted at those rankings or classifications or indexes sometimes work in an opposite way, because if you have developing countries always popping up at the bottom and the specific challenges are not addressed that maybe developed nations already overcame and now they benefit from that, it leaves them, first of all, with worse conditions, access to capital, because unfortunately, a lot of institutional investors and also development banks, they look at these indexes often as a proxy to analyze the risk that they have developing a project in a certain, and then when they provide loans or guarantees or something, they take that into account. And often they get conditions that are not as favorable, or they do not take enough account. That is one of the criticisms. That's not necessarily my opinion, but that is one of the criticisms. And also there's the indirect factors when people see those indexes, for example, in terms of brain drain, or in terms of people wanting to move there, in terms of building or capacity building, local capacity building. If they see that, people who would potentially want to go there, once they see a ranking like that, they say the risk, personal risk, apart from the development risk, is extremely high. And then it creates like this lever effect, that the ones who have already a lot, like the cities like Singapore, so they attract more and more, and then they start to outperform even more. You have like kind of an exponential effect, because they get the best people, they get the best conditions in terms of finance to continue their urban development, and then the other ones. So that is a question that's why I asked the question. But thank you very much for the clarity.
You're right. Just add to this that it's correct, and then but we need to know how to use these indicators, right? So because indicators are indicators, we will look at indicators, we can get, for example, different idea. But what we are doing with this indicator is like not just because we want to rank the cities, we want to see the before and after impact of the climate co-benefits. So for that, we need to have baseline. So we said, okay, this is the baseline with this or classification. And as I showed you, what happened when you introduce new co-benefit scenario, what happens for this indicator? So we use this indicator rather for the the evaluation of co-benefits rather than, for example, the classification and making some universal indicators to say that cities should be classified this way. That's just the addition.
But it would be very interesting to work with you because unfortunately, one of the things that I found is a lot of people in the finance industry, especially in private finance, they do not care about that. They just care about the final number that the index provides. And often they have like algorithms or they have like systems that are structured in a way that just takes account for that, and it gives like a risk factor. And they do not look at the entire context around it. And that is one of the problems where I would be very interested in working with you of how can we make that more accessible, like what you just explained, more accessible to people who might not be knowledgeable about sustainable development, but who sit at very important positions to provide financing for these things. And then we have another question from Yokota Sensei. He said, thank you so much for your interesting presentation. He often goes to Delhi for his research, but air pollution is still terrible. What more specific low emission strategies would you recommend for Delhi, like specific in the Delhi context?
Okay, thank you very much for this question. Basically, I cannot make any specific policy because I'm not a policy, maker. I mean, we are basically doing the analysis based on the policy which are recommended by the local government. But the problem with Delhi is the use of coal, right? So they use a lot of fossil fuel, and also the efficiency of the technology is really low. I think rather than supply side, this is my opinion, personal opinion, if the government works on the end user part, so to improve, for example, the efficiency of lighting, to improve the efficiency of the air conditioning system, I think end user is more important than the supply side, because for the supply side they have to use coal. There is no choice at the moment, and then there is no investment on renewable energy. But again, I believe that the main attention should be given to the supply side, and then how to actually to modify the way that people use energy. So let's say the demand actually response, or the demand behavior, or the customer behavior. So this is kind of the cultural actually basis that how to improve the awareness of the people about the energy and about the technology. I think this is the first step which is needed to be discussed. I hope I answered this question.
Yeah, I think that was a great answer. Again, because as you said, you're not in your expertise, within your expertise. I think that is the best possible explanation. But with that, I think we're at the end of time. So with that, I would welcome everyone to thank Professor Farzaneh for his time and for his excellent presentation, and for a very interesting topic that I think we'll see much more interest also in the future, because the challenges are so vast, and urbanization, or people move to the cities. So it will become something that is even more relevant. And with things like climate change, or the heating, we see now, for example, in Thailand, it's already 40 degrees, and you have cities like Bangkok or Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, and Tokyo also with the heat island effect. You have all these things still very present in more developed parts of Asia, but then you have it combined with air pollution and social factors in more developed. So I think it will not be the last time we have Professor Farzaneh as a guest on Curious, because this is a topic that will definitely be stay in extremely contemporary and up to a lot of attention. So thank you again.
Thank you very much.
And then if you do have questions to Professor Farzaneh, please do not also go check out his lab and his work and his books and his resource. I'm very sure he would be very happy to also
Sure. I'm very happy to be any offline connections.
Yeah. So please do reach out to him if you're interested, and also if there's some form of collaborating. He has, from what I've saw, very interesting projects and very interesting research going on. So with that, I will hand it over to the curious stuff to let us know a little bit about what is to come in the future. Thank you again, Professor Farzaneh.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
フーマン先生、シューマッハ先生、ありがとうございました。最後に事務局よりご案内させていただきます。まず、次回のブラウンバックセミナーのご案内です。次回は4月17日水曜日12時10分より、九州大学人文科学研究院歴史学部門の辻田純一郎教授より、鏡から見た古代日本の国家形成と題し講演を実施いたします。詳細はホームページをご覧ください。